Commander Jake Morrison stood at the big window of the Earth Defense Station Vanguard. He looked out at the black space filled with tiny stars. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he did not care. Today was special. Today marked exactly 2,000 years since humans first heard from aliens. Jake remembered the stories his grandfather told him when he was a boy. Back then, people on Earth were just starting to explore space. They had small rockets and dreams of visiting other planets. Then one day, their radio telescopes picked up signals from a star system called Proxima Centauri. The signals were not random noise. They were messages, and they were meant for Earth. The alien messages were short and scary. They said humans were too aggressive and were expanding too fast into space. The aliens told humans to stay in their own solar system and not go beyond. They said this was a warning, not a request. Then, after sending a few more similar messages over several months, the aliens went quiet. They never spoke again. But humans did not forget. They could not forget. Admiral Lisa Carter walked onto the bridge of the space station. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her family had been in the military for many generations. Her great-great-grandmother had been one of the first people to hear the alien signals. Her great-grandmother had helped build the first defense ships. Her grandmother had trained the first space marines. Her mother had commanded the first deep space fleet. Now Lisa carried on the family tradition. "Any word from the outer patrols, Jake?" she asked. Jake shook his head. "Nothing new, Admiral. The sensors are quiet, same as always." Lisa nodded. She had expected this answer. For 2,000 years, the sensors had been quiet, but humans kept watching and waiting and preparing. Dr. Alex Bennett was in his laboratory, 3 levels down from the bridge. He was looking at computer screens filled with data about aliens. Alex had spent his whole life studying the old signals from Proxima Centauri. He had listened to them thousands of times. He had analyzed every sound, every pause, every change in frequency. He knew those signals better than his own voice. Alex believed the aliens were still out there. He thought they were either planning something big or waiting for the right time to come back. Some of his colleagues thought the aliens were dead. Others thought they had forgotten about humans. A few even thought the whole thing had been a fake message made by humans to scare people. But Alex knew better. The technology in those signals was too advanced to be fake. The mathematics behind their language was too complex for humans to have created 2,000 years ago. The aliens were real, and they were still out there somewhere. Lieutenant Katie Walsh was 25 years old. She had never known a world without the alien threat hanging over it. Every day of her life she had trained to fight enemies from space. She could fly any ship in the human fleet. She could use every weapon humans had ever built. She could survive in space for weeks with just basic equipment. Katie worked with Sergeant Danny Brooks, who was 2 years older than her. Danny was an expert with heavy weapons and space combat tactics. Like Katie, he had grown up knowing that someday aliens might attack Earth. His parents had trained him from childhood to be a soldier. His school had taught him about space combat along with reading and math. Together, Katie and Danny represented the new generation of human defenders. They were faster, stronger, and smarter than any soldiers in human history. But they had never fought a real enemy. All their battles had been simulations and training exercises. "Do you think they will really come?" Katie asked Danny one day as they practiced combat moves in the station's gym. Danny paused in his exercise routine. It was a question all young soldiers asked. "My dad says they will." His dad said the same thing. "I guess we keep preparing until they do." The truth was that humans had changed a lot in 2,000 years. The alien warning had united all the countries on Earth. Instead of fighting each other, humans worked together to prepare for the alien threat. They built huge space stations around Earth, Mars, and the Moon. They created weapons that could destroy entire fleets of enemy ships. They developed shields that could protect whole planets. Human technology had advanced faster in the past 2,000 years than in all of human history before that. The need to defend against superior alien technology had pushed human scientists to discover new laws of physics. They learned to bend space and time. They found ways to create energy from nothing. They built computers that could think faster than human brains. But the most important change was in the human spirit. People, who had once fought wars over land and resources, now worked together for survival. Humans who had once feared the unknown now trained every day to face it. A species that had once been divided by race, religion, and nationality now thought of itself as one people preparing for one great battle. Captain Ryan Phillips was on duty at the long-range sensor station. He was responsible for watching the edges of the solar system for any sign of alien ships. His job was boring most of the time. Day after day he stared at screens that showed empty space. But Ryan knew his job was important. He would be the first person to see the aliens when they finally came. Ryan's grandfather had done the same job 50 years earlier. His great-grandfather had watched the sensors 100 years before that. The Phillips family had been watching for aliens for 12 generations. They took pride in their work and never complained about the long, quiet hours. Dr. Helen Garcia worked in the language department. She studied the old alien signals and tried to understand how alien minds worked. Helen spoke 15 human languages and had created computer programs that could translate between any two languages on Earth. She hoped these programs would help humans communicate with aliens when they returned. Helen had noticed something interesting about the alien signals. They were not just warnings. Hidden in the radio waves were mathematical patterns that seemed to be teaching tools. It was as if the aliens were trying to help humans understand advanced science while also telling them to stay away. This made Helen think the aliens were not evil. Maybe they were trying to protect humans from something worse. The orbital defense platforms around Earth were massive structures that could be seen from the planet's surface. Each platform was the size of a small city and carried enough weapons to destroy a moon. There were hundreds of these platforms, all connected by a network of smaller stations and patrol ships. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Murphy commanded Mars Defense Platform Alpha. It was one of the newest and most powerful platforms in the human fleet. Ben had trained for 30 years to get this command position. He was proud of his job, but sometimes wondered if the aliens would ever really come. "Sir, do you ever think we are wasting our time?" asked his assistant, Ensign Carol Wright. Ben looked at her with surprise. "Wasting our time? Carol, we are the guardians of human civilization. Every day we keep watch as another day our people stay safe. But it has been 2,000 years, sir. Maybe the aliens are gone." Ben smiled. "Maybe they are. But if they come back tomorrow, we will be ready. That is what matters." As the days passed into months and the months into years, humans continued their long watch. Children grew up and became soldiers. Soldiers grew old and trained new children. Scientists made new discoveries and built better weapons. Engineers created stronger ships and more powerful shields. But through it all, one thing never changed. Humans never stopped preparing. They never stopped training. They never stopped believing that someday the aliens would return. And when that day came, humanity would be ready. Captain Ryan Phillips was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming. He nearly dropped his cup as red lights flashed all around the sensor station. His hands moved fast across the control panel, checking the readings again and again. He could not believe what he was seeing. "Admiral Carter, to the bridge immediately," Ryan spoke into his communication device. His voice was shaking. "We have contact, multiple contacts. They are coming from outside the solar system. The sensors showed dozens of ships appearing at the edge of space. They were not like any ships humans had ever built. These ships were black as midnight and shaped like twisted spirals. They seemed to bend light around them, making them hard to see clearly. But the sensors could detect them, and they were big, much bigger than human ships." Admiral Lisa Carter ran to the bridge faster than she had run in years. When she saw the sensor readings, she felt her heart beat faster. After 2,000 years of waiting, the moment had finally come. The aliens were back. "How many ships?" she asked Ryan. 37, confirmed Admiral. "But more keep appearing. I count 52 now. Wait, 68. They are still coming." Lisa opened communication channels to every human ship and station in the solar system. "All units, this is Admiral Carter. We are now at full alert status. The aliens have returned. All personnel to battle stations immediately." Across the solar system, Millions of humans heard the message they had been expecting their whole lives. On Mars Defense Platform Alpha, Lieutenant Colonel Ben Murphy felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. Finally, after decades of training, he would see real combat. "You heard the Admiral," Ben told his crew. "This is what we have been preparing for. Everyone to their positions." On Earth, Dr. Alex Bennett was already analyzing the alien ships. His computers were working at full speed, comparing the new data with the old signals from 2,000 years ago. The technology was definitely from the same source, but it had advanced significantly. "These ships are using some kind of space folding technology," Alex told his research team. "They are not flying through space in the normal way. They are bending space around them to move faster than light." Lieutenant Katie Walsh was in her fighter ship within minutes of the alert. Her hands moved over the controls like she had done thousands of times in training, but this time was different. This time, real aliens were out there and they might be coming to destroy Earth. "Red Squadron ready for launch," Katie reported to her commander. Sergeant Danny Brooks was loading heavy weapons on the defense platform. Each weapon was designed to fight enemies with technology far beyond what humans had possessed 2,000 years ago. But humans had not been sitting still during those 2 millennia. They had been learning and building and preparing. The alien ships moved through the solar system like they owned it. They passed Jupiter and Saturn without slowing down. They ignored the asteroid belt completely. Their destination was clearly Earth and the inner planets where most humans lived. Then the aliens began to broadcast on every communication frequency humans used. The message came in perfect English, as if the aliens had been studying human language for a very long time. "Humans of Earth," the voice said. It sounded like music, but cold music like wind blowing through empty buildings. "We are the Cathara Collective. 2,000 years ago we sent you a warning. We told you to stay within your solar system. You did not listen to our warning." Admiral Carter listened to the message with growing anger. The aliens spoke like humans, were children who had misbehaved. "Your species has spread to 17 worlds," the alien voice continued. "You have built 43 orbital stations. You have sent ships to nearby star systems. This expansion threatens the peace of this region of the galaxy. You must be stopped." Dr. Helen Garcia was recording every word the aliens spoke. She noticed that their language patterns were more complex than the old signals. The aliens had been watching humans and learning their language for 2,000 years. "We do not wish to destroy you completely," the alien message went on. "But you must be contained. Your expansion ends today. Surrender your outer colonies and return to Earth. Do this, and most of your people will be allowed to live." "Captain." Ryan Phillips tracked the alien ships as they moved closer to Earth. There were now over 200 alien vessels in the solar system. Each one was larger than the biggest human warship. Their weapons were unknown, but energy readings suggested they could destroy planets. On Mars, Captain Joe Martinez was preparing his stealth fighter for launch. His ship was designed to be invisible to enemy sensors. If the aliens attacked, Joe would try to get close enough to study their technology and find weaknesses. "Martinez to command," Joe said into his radio. "Request permission to begin reconnaissance mission." "Permission granted," came the reply. "Be careful out there, Joe. We do not know what those ships can do." The alien fleet took positions around Earth and Mars. They formed a perfect circle around both planets with their ships spaced exactly the same distance apart. It was clear that everything they did was planned and organized. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Murphy watched the alien ships through his telescopes. Up close, they were even stranger than the sensors had shown. The ships seemed to be alive, pulsing with internal light. Their surfaces moved like liquid metal. Sometimes parts of the ships would change shape for no reason humans could understand. "Sir," said Ensign Carol Wright, "I am detecting massive energy buildup in the alien ships. I think they are preparing to attack." Ben nodded. "All weapons ready. Target the nearest alien ship. Wait for my command." Across the human fleet, similar conversations were happening. After 2,000 years of preparation, humans were finally about to face their greatest test. Dr. Patricia Lee was in the main defense control center, deep under the North American continent. She had spent 30 years developing the planetary shield system. Huge machines buried under every major city could create energy barriers that would protect Earth from orbital bombardment. Shield generators online and ready, Patricia reported to Admiral Carter. We can protect the major population centers, but not the whole planet. Admiral Carter made a decision that would change human history. Instead of trying to negotiate with the aliens or surrendering as they demanded, she chose to fight. All units, she broadcast to the entire human fleet, prepare for combat. We have spent 2,000 years getting ready for this moment. Today we find out if we learned our lessons well enough. But something strange happened as the human fleet prepared for battle. Instead of fear or panic, Admiral Carter felt something she had not expected. She felt excited. After decades of wondering if humans were strong enough to defend themselves, she was finally going to find out. On ships and stations throughout the solar system, other humans were feeling the same thing. They had trained their whole lives for this battle. They had built weapons and ships and shields that were supposed to be able to fight superior alien technology. Now they would learn if their preparations had been enough. The first alien ship began to glow brighter. Energy readings showed it was charging some kind of weapon. The battle was about to begin. Captain Steve Anderson, commanding the heavy cruiser Iron Eagle, felt his heart racing with anticipation rather than fear. "All hands, this is the captain," he announced to his crew. "We have waited 2,000 years for this fight. Let us show these aliens what humans can do." Across the human fleet, similar messages were being broadcast. Humans were not cowering in fear as the aliens had expected. They were getting ready to fight back. And on many ships, something even more surprising was happening. People were starting to smile. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Station Vanguard and smiled. It was not a happy smile or a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting a very long time for something important to happen. "All units, this is Admiral Carter." She spoke into the communication system that reached every human ship and station in the solar system. "After 2,000 years, our guests have finally arrived. You all know what to do. Execute Protocol Omega." Protocol Omega was the battle plan humans had been practicing for centuries. Every ship captain knew it by heart. Every weapons officer had trained for it thousands of times. Every pilot could fly the required patterns in their sleep. It was the moment everything they had learned would be put to the test. Commander Steve Anderson was aboard the heavy cruiser Iron Eagle when he heard the Admiral's order. He turned to his crew with a big grin on his face. "You heard the Admiral, people. Time to show our visitors what we have been working on all these years." The first alien ship fired its weapon at the Iron Eagle. The beam of energy was brighter than the sun and hot enough to melt planets. It should have destroyed the human ship instantly, but something unexpected happened. The energy beam hit the Iron Eagle's shields and simply disappeared. Dr. Patricia Lee had spent 30 years developing adaptive barrier technology. Her shields could study any attack in the first few seconds, and then create a perfect defense against it. The alien energy weapons were powerful, but they followed the same physical laws as everything else in the universe. Patricia's shields learned how to stop them almost immediately. "Direct hit on the Iron Eagle," reported Captain Ryan Phillips from his sensor station. "No damage detected. Shields holding perfectly." Admiral Carter's smile grew bigger. "Return fire," she ordered. The Iron Eagle shot back at the alien ship with weapons the Cathera had never seen before. Quantum disruptors tore apart the alien ship's hull at the atomic level. The beautiful spiral-shaped vessel began to come apart like a puzzle being taken apart by invisible hands. Major Amy Nelson was commanding the defense grid around Luna Base when the second wave of alien attacks began. 20 alien ships fired at the moon at the same time. Their combined firepower should have cracked the moon in half and killed everyone on it. Instead, the lunar defense shields absorbed all the energy and used it to power the base's weapons. Dr. Patricia Lee's adaptive barriers did not just stop enemy attacks. They turned enemy weapons into fuel for human defenses. "Luna Base to all ships," Amy broadcasted with laughter in her voice. "Thank you for the free energy, aliens." We are using it to charge our biggest guns." The aliens were learning that humans had spent 2,000 years thinking about this battle. Every possible alien attack had been considered. Every type of energy, weapon had been studied. Every tactical approach had been planned for. Captain Joe Martinez was flying his stealth fighter Nighthawk through the alien fleet. His ship was invisible to their sensors, but he could see everything they were doing. The aliens were confused and starting to panic. Their weapons were not working, and human ships were destroying them one by one. Joe fired his temporal mines at an alien ship. These weapons were Dr. Alex Bennett's idea. They created small bubbles of accelerated time around enemy vessels. A ship caught in a temporal mine would age hundreds of years in a few seconds. Its hull would rust away, and its engines would break down from old age. The alien ship Joe targeted began to crumble as centuries of wear and tear happened in moments. Its crew probably lived entire lifetimes in the few seconds before their ship fell apart completely. But the strangest thing about the battle was not the human weapons or shields. It was the way humans were acting. They were not scared or desperate. They were having fun. Fleet Admiral Rick Turner had studied every war in human history. He knew that the best way to win battles was not always to have better weapons. Sometimes the best way to win was to do things the enemy did not expect. The human fleet began to move in patterns that looked random and crazy. Ships would suddenly change direction for no apparent reason. Fighters would spin in circles while shooting. Large warships would dance around each other like they were performing some kind of space ballet. The aliens tried to predict where human ships would go next, but they could not. The human movements were based on complex mathematical formulas that combined chaos theory with military tactics. The patterns looked insane, but they were actually carefully planned to confuse enemy targeting systems. Dr. Carol Wright was monitoring the battle from the deep underground command center. She was watching something that had never been seen before in the history of warfare. The humans were not just fighting, they were enjoying the fight. Every human ship was broadcasting music, laughter, and victory cries. Pilots were singing while they flew combat missions. Gunners were cheering every time they hit an alien ship. Even the serious military officers were smiling and joking with their crews. The psychological effect on the aliens was devastating. The Cathera had expected to fight a desperate enemy that was afraid of dying. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that treated the battle like a game they had been looking forward to playing. Lieutenant Katie Walsh was flying her fighter through a group of alien ships. She was laughing as she fired her nanoweavers at enemy vessels. These weapons released billions of tiny robots that could rewrite the computer systems of enemy ships. "Hey, Danny," Katie called to Sergeant Danny Brooks over the radio. "Watch this trick I learned in training." She fired her nanoweavers at 3 alien ships at once. Within minutes, the tiny robots had taken control of the ship's navigation systems. The alien vessels began to attack each other instead of the humans. "Nice shot, Katie," Danny replied. He was manning a heavy gun on one of the defense platforms. "But can you make them dance?" Katie laughed and sent new instructions to her nanoweavers. The 3 alien ships began to fly in perfect formation, spinning and twirling like dancers in space. Their own crews could not control their ships anymore. The battle was turning into something the aliens had never experienced. They were not just losing, they were being humiliated. The humans were making jokes while destroying their fleet. Commander Jake Morrison watched the battle from the bridge of the Vanguard. He was amazed by how well human technology was working. Every weapon performed exactly as designed. Every shield held against alien attacks. Every tactical plan worked perfectly. "Sir," said Lieutenant Colonel Ben Murphy over the communication. "System, Mars Defense Platform Alpha reporting. We have destroyed 15 alien ships and captured 3 more. Our casualty count is 0. Similar reports were coming in from all over the solar system. Human losses were almost nothing. Alien losses were catastrophic. The Cathara fleet was being destroyed and their crews were being captured or killed. But the most important victory was not the destruction of alien ships. It was the proof that 2,000 years of preparation had been worth it. Humans had become exactly what they needed to become to win this war. Dr. Helen Garcia was analyzing alien communications from her language center. She could hear panic and confusion in the alien voices. They were asking each other how this was possible. How could the primitive humans be winning so easily? The answer was simple. Humans had spent 2,000 years learning how to fight enemies with superior technology. They had turned warfare into a science and an art form. Most importantly, they had learned to find joy in the fight itself. As more alien ships were destroyed or captured, Admiral Carter opened a communication channel to the remaining Cathara fleet. "Attention Cathara Collective," she said, and her voice was filled with the confidence of someone who had just proven they were right about everything. "You told us to stay quiet and behave ourselves. Today, we are showing you what happens when you try to tell humanity to keep it down." The battle had been going on for 6 hours when Dr. Alan Foster made a discovery that changed everything. He was studying pieces of a destroyed Cathara ship in his laboratory when he found something that did not make sense. The alien technology was not designed for conquest, it was designed for running away. "Admiral Carter," Alan spoke into his communication device, "you need to see this immediately. The alien ships are not warships, they are refugee vessels." Admiral Lisa Carter was still on the bridge, watching as the last few alien ships surrendered to the human fleet. The battle was almost over and humanity had won completely, but Alan's words made her stop celebrating. "What do you mean, refugee vessels?" she asked. "The ships are built for long-distance travel and survival, not for fighting," Alan explained. "Their weapons are defensive systems, not attack weapons. They have huge storage areas for food and supplies. These aliens are not invaders, Admiral. They are running from something." Colonel Nancy Peterson was in charge of questioning captured alien prisoners. She had been trying to understand why the Cathara had attacked humanity when they clearly were not prepared for a real war. The first prisoner she talked to was an alien officer named HFY. The Cathara looked like tall, thin humans with pale, blue skin and large, dark eyes. HFY spoke perfect English, just like the radio messages had been. But when Nancy asked him why they had attacked Earth, his answer surprised her. "We did not come to attack you," HFY said in his musical voice. "We came to save you. Your expansion into space is calling to them. The Void Devourers will follow your signals here, and then everyone will die." Nancy did not understand what Void Devourers were, but the way HFY said the name made her feel cold inside. "Who are the Void Devourers?" she asked. HFY's large eyes became even larger with fear. "They are the Eaters of Worlds, ancient machines left behind by a dead race. They consume all energy in the galaxy, and then sleep until new energy awakens them. My people have been running from them for 50,000 years." Captain Mike Davis was commanding the deep space reconnaissance vessel, Far Horizon, at the edge of the solar system when his sensors detected something strange. There were massive distortions in space itself, like ripples in a pond. But these ripples were bigger than star systems. "Command, this is Captain Davis," he reported. "I am detecting gravitational anomalies at the edge of the galaxy. Something very large is moving out there. Multiple somethings." Dr. Tony Williams was Earth's leading expert on exotic matter and space-time physics. When he heard Mike's report, he ran calculations on his most powerful computers. The results scared him more than anything he had ever discovered. "Admiral," Tony called Carter urgently, "we have a serious problem. The gravitational distortions Captain Davis detected are not natural. They are being caused by artificial objects the size of small moons, moving faster than anything should be able to move." Meanwhile, Dr. Helen Garcia was analyzing more alien communications. She had learned to understand the Cathara language during the battle, and now she was listening to their private messages. What she heard made her hands shake. "Admiral Carter," Helen called, "the aliens are terrified. They keep talking about something called the Harvester. They say it has found this galaxy and is coming here with its children." Admiral Carter was beginning to understand that the situation was much worse than she had thought. The aliens had not come to conquer humanity. They had come to warn humanity about something far more dangerous. She ordered that the Cathara leader, an ancient alien named HFY, be brought to her ship for a private meeting. When HFY arrived, Carter was surprised by how old and tired he looked. This was not a warrior or a conqueror. This was someone who had been running and hiding for a very long time. "Your people fought well," HFY said when he met Carter. "We did not expect such resistance, but you do not understand what you have done. Your expansion, your technology, your energy use, it creates signals that travel through space. The Void Devourers follow those signals." "Tell me about the Void Devourers," Carter said. HFY sat down heavily, as if the weight of the universe was on his shoulders. Billions of years ago, there was a race that became so advanced they no longer needed physical bodies. They transcended to become beings of pure energy. But before they left this universe, they created the ultimate weapon. "What kind of weapon?" Carter asked. "The Harvester and its children, machines designed to cleanse the universe of all life they considered inferior. The machines consume planets, stars, entire solar systems. They turn everything into energy and store it until their creators return. But their creators never came back." Dr. Alex Bennett joined the meeting by video link from his laboratory. He had been studying the alien technology and had made several disturbing discoveries. "Admiral," Alex said, "I have been analyzing the Cathera computer systems. They have records going back 50,000 years. The Void Devourers have been chasing them across the galaxy, destroying every world the Cathera tried to settle on." HFY nodded sadly. "We have watched them destroy 1,000 civilizations. Entire species wiped out in days. Planets turned to dust. We tried to warn your people 2,000 years ago because we hoped both our races could survive if you stayed small and quiet." "But we did not stay small and quiet," Carter said. "No. You expanded across dozens of worlds. You built powerful transmitters and faster-than-light ships. You filled space with energy signals. The Void Devourers follow energy. They are probably already on their way here." Captain Mike Davis confirmed HFY's fears. "Admiral, the gravitational distortions are getting stronger. Whatever is out there, it is getting closer. My sensors now detect over 10,000 large objects moving toward our galaxy." Dr. Tony Williams ran more calculations and delivered the worst news yet. "Based on the movement patterns, the Void Devourers will reach the outer edge of our galaxy in approximately 6 months. They will arrive at Earth in 8 months. The bridge of the Vanguard became very quiet. Everyone was thinking about what this meant. Humanity had just won the greatest battle in their history, only to learn that a much more dangerous enemy was coming." But then Admiral Carter did something that surprised everyone, including herself. She started to laugh. "Admiral?" "Commander," Jake Morrison asked, concerned that the stress had been too much for her. "Do you realize what this means?" Carter asked, still chuckling. "We spent 2,000 years preparing to fight aliens with superior technology. We just proved we are very good at it. Now we get to fight even more aliens with even better technology." HFY stared at Carter like she had gone insane. "You do not understand. The Void Devourers are not like us. They cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be stopped. They have destroyed civilizations far more advanced than yours." Carter's smile grew wider. "That is what the Cathera thought about us too. 6 hours ago, you had superior technology in greater numbers. How did that work? Out for you?" Dr. Helen Garcia was translating Cathera communications from the surviving alien ships. "Admiral, the Cathera are asking their leader what the humans are talking about. They cannot understand why we are not afraid." "Tell them," Carter said, "that humanity has been looking for a real challenge for 2,000 years. If these Void Devourers are as dangerous as they say, then this should be fun." HFY looked at the human admiral with something that might have been hope for the first time in centuries. "You really think you can fight them?" "I think," Carter said, "that we are about to find out what 2,000 years of human preparation can accomplish when we face a real enemy." 8 months later, the edge of the galaxy turned dark. Captain Mike Davis watched through his telescopes as stars began to disappear one by one. The Void Devourers had arrived, and they were eating everything in their path. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the new flagship Defiance, watching reports come in from across the galaxy. In 8 months, humanity and the Cathera had built the largest alliance in galactic history. 47 different alien species had joined them after learning about the Void Devourer threat. Status report. Carter asked General Frank Roberts, who was coordinating the joint defense effort. We have 2 million ships ready for battle, Frank reported. Human technology combined with Cathera energy manipulation and 30 other species weapon systems. We also have the new hybrid fighters that Lieutenant Katie Walsh helped design. Katie Walsh was now Captain Walsh, commanding a squadron of ships that had never existed before. Human pilots flying vessels built with technology from dozens of different worlds. The ships could bend space like the Cathera, use energy weapons like the Zephyrians, and employ quantum tactics like humans had perfected. Red Squadron ready for deployment, Katie reported. Her voice was calm, but everyone could hear the excitement underneath. After months of training with alien allies, humanity was ready for their biggest challenge yet. Dr. Alex Bennett had spent the 8 months studying captured Void Devourer technology from ancient battlefields. What he learned was both fascinating and terrifying. The Void Devourers are not really alive, Alex explained to the War Council. They are machines, but they learn and adapt. Each one is the size of a small moon and covered in dark energy fields that can absorb matter and convert it to fuel. Dr. George Miller, working with Cathera scientists, had discovered something important about how the machines worked. They are controlled by a central intelligence called the Harvester. It is located in the largest ship at the center of their fleet. If we can destroy the Harvester, the other machines will become confused and easier to defeat. The Void Devourer fleet was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Over 10,000 machine ships, each one capable of destroying planets. They moved through space like a swarm of metal insects, consuming everything they encountered. Captain Linda Johnson was commanding the experimental vessel Deathblow, which had been built using the best technology from all the allied species. Her ship was fast enough to outrun Void Devourer scouts and strong enough to survive their weapons. First contact with enemy scouts, Linda reported, as 3 machine ships appeared on her sensors. Engaging now. The battle lasted 17 hours. Linda's ship fought 3 Void Devourers at once, using every trick humans had learned in 2,000 years of preparation. She used quantum mines to confuse their sensors, temporal weapons to age their hull armor, and nanoweavers to take control of their systems. When the battle ended, all 3 Void Devourer scouts had been destroyed, but not before they transmitted humanity's location to the main fleet. The Harvester knows where we are now, Linda reported. The main fleet is changing course. They are coming directly toward Earth. The final battle would take place in the empty space between galaxies. Admiral Carter commanded a fleet of 2 million ships from 47 different worlds. Every species in the Alliance had contributed their best technology and their bravest warriors, but the Void Devourer fleet was still larger. The Harvester itself was a construct the size of a small star, surrounded by its mechanical children. Each machine ship was armed with weapons that could tear apart planets. Major Chris Thompson was leading a squad of hybrid fighters deep into the enemy fleet. His mission was to find weaknesses in the Void Devourer formations. What he discovered changed everything. "Command, this is Thompson," he reported while dodging machine ship fire. "The Void Devourers have a major weakness. They cannot adapt to creative tactics. They respond to logical military strategies, but they have never encountered our style of controlled chaos." Chris was right. The machines had been programmed to fight civilizations that used predictable military tactics. But humanity had spent 2,000 years learning to do the unexpected. Combined with the creative thinking of 46 other species, the Allied fleet was using strategies no computer could predict. The battle began when Admiral Carter gave the order to attack. 2 million Allied ships charged toward 10,000. Machine vessels in a pattern that looked completely insane but was actually carefully planned. Human ships danced through space while firing quantum weapons. Cathera vessels bent reality around them to confuse enemy targeting. Zephyrian fighters used pure energy attacks that the machines could not absorb. Dozens of other species contributed their own unique fighting styles. The Void Devourers tried to counter each attack with logical responses. But the Allied fleet was not fighting logically. They were fighting with creativity, joy, and the kind of chaotic teamwork that only living beings could achieve. Captain Steve Anderson, commanding the Iron Eagle, was laughing as he led his squadron against a group of machine ships. "Remember what Admiral Carter taught us," he called to his pilots. "If you are not having fun, you are not doing it right." The Allied fleet turned the battle into a celebration of life itself. Ships from different worlds worked together in ways the machines could not understand. Species that had never met before were fighting side by side like old friends. Sergeant Danny Brooks was manning weapons on one of the human battleships when he noticed something amazing. "Katie, are you seeing this?" he called to Captain Walsh, over the radio. "I see it, Danny," Katie replied. She was watching as machine ships began to malfunction and break down. "The Void Devourers are shutting down. Their computer systems cannot handle our tactics." Dr. Helen Garcia was monitoring alien communications from all across the battlefield. She was hearing something that had never been recorded before. The machines were expressing confusion and something that sounded almost like fear. "The Harvester is trying to understand what we are doing," Helen reported to Admiral Carter. "Its programming cannot process the concept of beings who fight with joy instead of desperation." Admiral Carter smiled as she watched the battle unfold. The Allied fleet was not just winning. They were teaching the universe something important about the power of hope and creativity over cold logic and destruction. The final moment came when the Defiance led a direct assault on the Harvester itself. The massive machine tried to defend itself with weapons that could destroy solar systems, but it could not stop an enemy that refused to follow the rules of warfare. "All ships, final attack," Carter ordered. "Show this ancient machine what living beings can accomplish when they work together." 2 million ships from 47 worlds attacked the Harvester at once. They used every weapon, every tactic, and every creative strategy they had learned in the months of preparation. But most importantly, they fought with the knowledge that they were protecting not just their own worlds, but the right of life itself to exist in the universe. The Harvester tried to process what was happening to it. For billions of years, it had destroyed civilizations by overwhelming them with superior technology and numbers. But it had never faced an enemy that turned warfare into art, that found strength in diversity, and that refused to be afraid. When the Harvester finally shut down, its mechanical children stopped functioning across the galaxy. The Void Devourer threat was ended, not by superior weapons or technology, but by something the ancient machines had never understood: the power of living beings working together with joy and determination. Admiral Carter opened a communication channel to the entire Allied fleet. Her voice carried across space to millions of beings from dozens of worlds, all celebrating their impossible victory. 2,000 years ago, some aliens told humanity to stay quiet and behave ourselves, she said, and every being in the fleet could hear the smile in her voice. Today, we showed the universe what happens when you tell life itself to keep it down. The victory belonged to everyone, but it had started with humanity's refusal to accept defeat and their ability to find hope in the darkest moments. After 2,000 years of waiting, they had finally found a war worth fighting and won it with laughter.